First off, you gotta tell us what the last few weeks was like for you. You're trying to prepare your team, you're playing for an NIT championship with Utah Valley. Your wife is due, like, any moment. Literally, I was sitting with you in Boulder, Colorado about a week and a half ago. You got your cell phone ready to go just in case you got the call. But what's it been like to balance that in addition to your family, your program, and then potentially taking this job here at Cal? What's it been like?
No, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. Before the Colorado game, we were within a couple of days of the due date. And, you know, of our 3 children that have come, they've all come at night. And so, really, we got to a point where we said, I wasn't going to be gone nights. And I almost didn't go to the Colorado game. Our associate head coach almost coached it. But it's been so exciting. You know, yesterday when the baby got close, I was incredibly excited. And you know, for our kids to be able to meet her yesterday was a great moment in life.
Coming back to the Bay Area, where you had so much success as a player here in the East Bay, and of course at the junior university over across the Bay. But what's it like for you to come back to the Bay Area?
Well, Jim Knowlton picked me up at the airport, and one of the first things I told him is, what about this air? What about this air? I love the air here. Yeah, and it's funny what you remember, but I grew up in the Bay. I grew up driving across the Bay Bridge, walking across the Golden Gate Bridge as a family, going to the beach, the friendships, the relationships, the memories. It's awesome to be back.
You mentioned earlier about your battles on the floor here against Cal, going up against guys like Sean Lampley, Tony Gonzalez. Now, in reality, everybody knows you weren't the only one that was taking the bruising. And talking to somebody, and they're like, what's the best way you can describe Mark Madsen as a player? I said, Mark was the kind of guy that he's gonna pop you in the nose. It could break, but Mark could also be the first guy to run over and pick up a towel and help you after he did it. And then as Mike Montgomery told me, he'd probably do it again. What was the drive for you that had you playing at such a high level your entire career that you never took a playoff?
Well, you know, I think maybe I've always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder in terms of just knowing that for me to be successful, I was going to have to outwork somebody, I was going to have to out-hustle somebody, and just do the little things. Because, you know, some guys can jump 45 inches, some guys can make 5 out of 10 threes under pressure, under duress. I couldn't. And so I had to do mine, trying to outwork somebody. But I'm just glad I never had to play against him right there, Leon Poe. I'm glad I never had to play against him right there.
It's funny, I was talking to Ben Braun this morning because he coached against you when you were playing at Stanford, and Ben's like, you know, I had an answer for this guy and that guy, but I never had an answer for Mark Madsen. How did teams not have an answer for you?
Well, that's a great question. You know, some people sagged off me when I had the ball on the perimeter. But, you know, it's you get to the NBA and you try to figure out what your strength is. You try to figure out what your strength is because there, everyone is so good. And late in college, you know, I kind of realized I had one shot that I could make, and that was a jump hook. So I got to the NBA and I just tried to focus on that, focus on strengths. And that's what we're going to try to do with our players. You know, we'll try to look at the strengths, the unique strengths and abilities of our guys, and put them in the best position to succeed.
Speaking of strengths and abilities, what was it like in practice to go up against Shaq every
day? You guys really want to know? Okay, yeah, we'll talk about it. So, the very first time we went live at the Lakers, Tex Winter would say, okay, we have the varsity team and we have the JV team. I'm a rookie, and he said, you're on the JV team, which means you have to push the varsity team every day. I said, okay, I get it. So, the first team was lining up against the second team and vice versa. And so everyone was getting their matchup, and I realized no one was guarding Shaq. And then all my teammates, Devin George, Slava Medved, they said, you take Shaq. I said, I don't want to take Shaq. It was too late. And so you try to guard him. Nobody can guard that guy. Nobody can guard Shaq. But after 2 practices, I limped to the training room to Gary Vitti. And I said, Gary, I can't walk. I said, I don't know what happened. And he said, I've seen this a million times. Shaquille just puts people out of commission. He just put you out of commission. Took 2 weeks and I was back out there.
And then you were back for more.
Yeah, I was back for more, but you always hoped that he was in a good mood when he was practicing against you.
So speaking of those Laker days, you became an internet sensation for your masterful dancing at the championship parade. Where did you learn those great moves?
Well, let me start by saying, in this day and age, if people remember me at all, I'm just flattered people remember me for anything. But I never had too much rhythm, so my wife's trying to teach me a little more rhythm. We'll see if she can do it.
How much flack did you take from your teammates after that?
I wasn't the only one down there dancing, Roxy. There were a lot of guys dancing. They just picked the one guy that didn't have quite the rhythm that everyone else had.
So earlier you brought up the chant that Cal people like to do, right? Take off that red shirt. First off, I've never seen you look so good in the blue and gold. But are you going to have like a fire sale or a garage sale to get rid of all your cardinal and red stuff?
I can't tell you how excited I am to dive in here at Cal. I love my alma mater. I had a great experience there. But it's about building Cal and getting Cal back to where Cal belongs, basketball-wise. And just couldn't be more excited about it.
You had some choices and options. You were doing a great job developing that Utah Valley program, had success in the postseason, and you had a great situation there. You were appreciated, and I know you talked about, when we were talking about your program at Utah Valley, how much you loved the kids, loved the community, loved the department, how much support you got there. What was it about this job? Why was it Cal was the right spot for you?
In every phase of the interview process with Jim Nolan, I got more and more excited about this job. I mean, having grown up here, I truly believe that Cal is a sleeping giant in terms of men's basketball. And each time I talked to Jim, we talked about more and more details from, the current roster to admissions to NIL to the history and the tradition of the players and the coaches that have been here. This is a sleeping giant. This is a program that can be a nationally ranked program year in and year out. That's what got me excited.
Well, you're now the head coach of the Sleeping Giant. Congratulations, Mark. Great to see you in blue and gold finally. Thank you again to everybody for coming out and supporting Mark Madsen, his new venture as the head basketball coach for the men's program here at the University of California. We're going to have a press conference in about 15 to 20 minutes for the media where you'll get a chance to ask questions. But thanks again to everybody for coming out here today. Go Bears.